Okay, for those of you listening at home, I forgot to start the recording, so I will put a link on the website to the little video we just watched, and so you can look at that and catch up with us, hopefully. If not, contact one of your friends who's in class, and they can fill you in. All right, so anyway, now we are at this point about coterminal angles. At some point, I'm going to have to start deducting points from the front row here. Okay, maybe, but I knew it. Gosh, I thought of that earlier today. I thought, you know what, I got to remember to record at the start of after lunch. I'm going to forget. All right, so 60. So we have a 60-degree angle right here, and so let's call that our theta. Kind of what he called kind of the normal angle. That's the way we would normally talk about it. Would be just one rotation. That around again and again. So normally we would think of this as a 60-degree, but basically all you do is you just add 360 and then add 360 again and add 360 again and add 360 again, and it's a very simple scenario. In the red would be, of course, your negative version of that angle. So that 60 to go around in the negative direction, that would be negative 300. And then subtract 360 again and subtract 360 again. So theta plus 360, theta minus 360, and then multiples of that. You can generate an infinite number of angles that would all be represented by that blue picture. Okay, they would all be that same picture. They would be equivalent for our sake, for our purposes. Okay, all right. So you do that. So this is going to be your homework right here. This is an example, and then I'm going to give you 10 other ones, and you're going to draw them and you're going to write them. So give me two positive and two negative angles that are coterminal to that angle there, 195 degrees. Two positive, two negative. Just write it down. Okay, what are two positive angles? 555. 555. What else? 915. 915. Negative.
Negative 165.
Negative 165. Negative 525. How hard is that? Not hard at all. Okay, so, and obviously as we get into trig, we need that to be, I don't know, are those right?
You just take 195 plus.
Just go 195 plus 360, which is that, and then hit plus 360 again, and that's where the 915 came from, right? Then take 195 minus 360, and that's the negative 165, and then take minus 360 again, and that's the negative 525, right? So all you're doing is taking your original angle, add 360, add 360, add 360, add 3, right? Minus however many times you need to, and there you go. Okay, so those would all be in there. So negative 1, this would be negative 165, which makes sense. This would be negative 90 to here, and then a little farther, right? So that's the negative 165, and then you go around again, another negative 360. And that would give you that. Okay? That's what we're going to be doing. Now, sometimes that's written this way, and this would be worth noting. We're going to get into this a little more in a little later. This doesn't affect today's homework. But a lot of times how we write that angle is we say, okay, 195 plus 360 times n, where n is an element of the integers. Right? Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, so forth. So in other words, we're just adding on multiples of 360, including negative multiples of 360, right? So sometimes we write that angle, if we want to write all of its possible versions, since you can't write an infinite number of them, you could just write this, and that would give you all of the different versions of that angle, just to show. So if n is 0, that would give you 195. If n is 1, that would give you the 555 we had. If n is 2, that would give you the 915 that we had, and so forth, so on. And likewise, if n is negative 1, that would be the 195 minus 360. And this would be the 195 minus 2 360s, and so forth, so on. So writing it like this is a way to represent all of the possibilities. But the one we typically use is just the 195. Okay? But there will be times, for whatever reason, we might want to call it negative or something else. Okay? But that is just coterminal. So, there's your homework to sketch. So you're going to have 10 pictures. Do not put these all in one picture, please. Right? That would really be a mess. Okay, I want 10 separate sketches with an XY coordinate and then that angle. Now you're just going to estimate. You don't need to get out a protractor and measure and get exactly where it would be. Just get in the ballpark, in the right quadrant for sure, but you would also want to get, which axis is it closer to, right? I mean, 27 degrees is definitely closer to 0 than it is to 90. So put it in there roughly where it would be. And then just write down 2 positive and 2 negative angles that would be coterminal to that, like we just did. Which again is essentially just add 360, add 360, take away 360, take away 360. Okay?
For number 1, that was the first angle. Would that already have, would it basically just be 24 plus 360? It would already have one.
Well, okay, yeah, so 384, you're right, is past 360, so it's around like that, right? Right, so another name for that would be 24. Yeah, I just said give 2 positive. So 24 could be one of them. But if you want to go 384, add 360, add 360, those could be your 2 positive ones. I see what you're saying. So if you take 384 minus 360, that's still positive. That doesn't count as one of your negative angles. You're going to have to subtract 360 again. Yeah, I want 2 angles that are positive and 2 angles that are negative for each one. Right. Yeah, same thing with 510 and negative 1020, right? I mean,